for March 9th, 2021. Before I hand the reins off to Kevin and for the pledge, I would like to remind everybody who has joined the meeting that you are automatically on mute. It is one of the common issues of Zoom to start talking when no one else is hearing you. So please keep that in mind if you wish to make a comment, that you are automatically on mute when you join the meeting. And with that said, I will now pass it to Kevin for the pledge.
Let's begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The minutes for the February 9th and 18th minutes, our meetings, are on pages 1 through 5 in your packet. Are there any additions, corrections, or comments pertaining to those minutes?
Mr. Chair, this is Kay Nelson, and it appears through the body of the minutes on the 18th that I'm there, but I'm not listed as an attendee.
Okay. We'll correct the minutes then.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, corrections? If not, do I have a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
Kay Nelson, motion to approve.
The minutes.
David Wright, second.
And 18th. Do I have a second?
David Wright.
David Wright.
Thank you. Have the first, David the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? So moved. Now we'll move on to the public comment on agenda items. This is an opportunity for comments from members of the audience. The amount of time available to speak will be limited to 3 minutes, and commenters must indicate their wish to comment at this time. Is there any?
Yeah, if there are any comments, please unmute your line first.
As a reminder, you came in muted.
You came in muted. You must unmute yourself.
*6 to unmute.
And can you identify yourself, sir?
Oh, this is Frank Rosado from the Chicago Transit. I'm sorry. Just wanted to remind everybody.
Okay, thank you, Frank. We were looking for you. We just didn't know which phone number you were.
Yeah.
Very sensitive.
Hearing no public comment on the agenda items, we're going to move on to planning. Northwest Indiana 2050 Amendment number 2 update. Scott Weber, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. So for the planning update for this morning's meeting, I just wanted to give you all a quick update about some of the planning documents that will soon be released for public comment, pending a resolution to this meeting today. The first one is the NWI 2050 Amendment number 2. NWI 2050 is our region's long-range plan that we adopted back in May of 2019, so we're almost 2 years into it. This is only the second amendment, which I think speaks to that we've had a very robust plan, but it is necessary in order to fulfill some of the federal requirements because of this latest NOVA, the Notice of Funding Availability, that adds some regionally significant projects to the plan that need to be incorporated. So there are 4 projects that are being affected by amendment number 2. 2 of them are actually already existing projects that just have some slight modifications in scope or the year. And those are, one, there's an INDOT project on US 41. It's an added center turn lane project just south of US 231 in the St. John, Cedar Lake kind of corridor. Originally, in our NWI 2050 plan, we had that project scoped all the way from US 231 down to State Road 2 in the Lowell area. However, upon consulting with INDOT, it has come to our attention that the scope of that project was never intended to go that far south. And so the southern terminus that we have in our NWI 2050 plan is being edited up to a roughly 135th place in the Cedar Lake area instead of State Road 2 in the Lowell area. But there's no cost affected with that. And really, we figured out that that was actually just kind of a clerical error on our part, on staff's part, in order to better represent that project in our travel demand model. We used the shorthand notation to State Road 2, but we want to be more specific that that is really not the intent of that whole project. And another existing project that's being affected by amendment number 2 is the Main Street extension project along the Munster-Dyer border into the town of the village of Linwood in Illinois. That project in our NWI 2050 plan was originally slated to be completed by the year 2030. However, upon consulting with our partners in the town of Munster, the earliest that we probably could expect that project would be 2040. So we're moving that from 2030 to 2040 in our plan. So those are the 2 existing projects that are being affected by amendment number 2. And then there are 2 new projects that are slated to be added as a result of this notice of funding availability process that are regionally significant. One of those is the town of St. John's Klein Avenue Gap project between 93rd Avenue and 101st Avenue as a result of adding some PE as we're drafting as we're going to talk about, or we've already talked about at this committee's meetings, into our draft 2022 to 2026 transportation improvement program that'll be hopefully adopted next month in April. So that's one of the 2 projects that's being added. The other project that this NOFA process is adding is the Willow Creek Extension Project, which is actually an extension kind of an existing project in Porter County. Originally in our NWI 2050 plan, the scope is the northern terminus is 700 North and the southern terminus is State Road 130. We're changing the southern terminus down to US 30 now, to incorporate subsequent phases to that project. And as you can see in our draft transportation improvement program, we are adding construction fund, or we are proposing to add construction funds in fiscal year 2026 for that project. So those are the 4 projects that are affected by the NWI 2050 amendment number 2, and they will formally be hopefully released for public comment by this afternoon all the way through April 8th for a 30-day period. And the technical planning committee will then hopefully recommend these items at their meeting on April 6th, and the NERC Commission / executive board will hopefully to be a full commission on April 15th, will adopt amendment number 2, hopefully. And then the other item that I'm going to update you is about the conformity. The air quality conformity, as you know, is required because we're a non-attainment area designated by the Environmental Protection Agency for ozone. And so those 4 significant projects that I just mentioned are, among others that we already have, are in that document. And that document will also be circulated for public comment from March 9th, which is today, through April 8th. And again, that conformity report will be in front of the technical planning committee at the meeting on April 6th and for the full commission on April 15th. So those are the only 2 updates I have under planning. Any questions?
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Scott? Any comments on his report? Hearing none, let's move on to programming. 4.1 in your agenda. That's fiscal year 2025 to 2026, the NOFA project planning. Charles Bradsky will present on the recommendation for Group 1 transit projects in our 2022-2026 Transportation Improvement Program.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at trying to solve how we're going to fund all of our transit in the fiscal years 2025 and 2026. We made some assumptions this year, talking with the various transit operators, and we made 3 assumptions. First off, we proposed a 3% annual increase in funding. And that is compounded annually. So that helps out and gives us another almost $2 million in 2025 and 2.2 or $2.5 million in 2026. Secondly, 2026 is not something that that Federal Highway looks at, or I should say Federal Transit looks at. They are mainly concerned with the 4-year tip. And so they're concerned, so they only look at the 4 years. That 5th year is purely illustrative for them, so they don't review that. So we were not looking to balance 2026. So that could put us in trouble in the future, but that's 5 years away. And therefore we just balanced 2025. Thirdly, we agreed on at the transit operators that we would look at what everybody received for operating assistance in 2025, or excuse me, operating assistance in 2021, as well as preventive maintenance in 2021. Operating assistance is by far the most important for everyone, because without that operating assistance, that transit operator cannot function, as well as preventative maintenance. So any capital projects beyond that would have to, whether they're buying new buses or expansion or anything like that, is secondary, and that would be the first on the chopping blocks. So we do want to keep the funds for operating assistance and preventive maintenance flowing. So we looked at what everybody received in 2021, and we started programming those numbers. Now, in some cases, preventative maintenance in 2025 is less than it was in 2021. It could be because that transit operator received new buses in 2024. And obviously, they're not going to need the same amount of maintenance on those vehicles that an older bus would. So in trying to balance the budget for 2025, I took the lesser amount. What that a transit operator had in 2021, or what they asked for in 2025. I took that lesser amount. At the bottom of the sheet, you can see that we started out with 14.4 million, just under $14.4 million. And our total requests now are $15.8 million. So that leaves us a gap of just under $1.5 million. I'm sorry, we had another assumption. In the past, it appears that we've consistently approved budgets that were over budgeted by less than $2 million. So for the fourth assumption is that we're going to stick to being under $2 million over budgeted. What we're proposing today is just under $1.5 million over the $14.4 million that we have planned on coming in 2025. If for some reason Federal Highway does say something, the first item that would be on the chopping block would be, as you see, GPTC's new buses in 2025. There's $2.26 million there, and I would just reduce that down to balance the budget, and give them it would still be a line item in the tip, but they would have roughly $1 million, or just under $1 million, or excuse me, just over $1 million for those buses. Are there any comments? Questions?
Anybody?
This is David. I would just add to clarify what we probably do in working with Charles would be to adjust the schedule for those buses to perhaps instead of going 3 a year, go with 1 or 2 a year. Because those are electric vehicles, so they are more expensive. Yeah, but we'd have options.
Thank you for working within the budget, David. That helps. That helps everybody.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, this is Kay. A question for David. And I'm trying not to step on my ethics issues here, but I do know that there were VW award dollars for electric school buses as part of a recent award. Is that something that Gary received? And if so, would what you proposed as an option to help balance Charles' budget cause problems with your VW award?
No, the VW funding is for buses that are in order right now. What we're talking about with this project would be future buses if our board of directors, which is where they're leaning, decide to go all electric starting in 2025. So if that's the case, if the VW experiment does prove worthwhile, then the 2025 vehicles at the latest would be the start of our conversion to everything electric.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any
Charles,
other?
this is Kelly. I have a question. In prior years, when we over-programmed this tip by 1 or 2 million, as you said, was our budget flatlined at that point, or did that budget assume an increase in funding?
Kathy, did you?
Yeah, Kelly, I don't really know the assumptions that went into that. I just basically looked at the actual tips to see how much we programmed in 5307 for the last, since 2014, I think.
I seem to
So,
recall 2
yeah.
years ago when we did this exercise for the last tip edition, we assumed like a 1.5% increase to bring it closer within a balancing. However, I don't know if that got reflected. The 3% annual increase you did here, compounded annually, is that 3% based on what, the tip program tip last year, or last year's assumed? And when I say last year, I mean 2024, or were you working from 2021 going forward? How did you talk about those?
I think we were actually working from our current typical split with Illinois,
The 2020
I
split?
looked at
but I don't
Kelly,
know.
Kathy, and everyone else. I looked at the funding numbers that James had given me, and I did a 3% starting with 2021. So I took 2020 numbers, added 3% every year until 2026.
And those numbers look to me, the numbers that James left in the NOFA application appeared to be lined up with the split, the current tip split, or the current Illinois, Indiana, Lake Porter split.
This is David. I know, yeah, I can confirm that the conversation a couple of years ago was about a 1.5% escalator. That was part of that 4-hour meeting, it seemed, in the TPC. Now, a question I had, well, just a clarification I had, is that usually when when we're over budget, when we get our apportionment, we would work with the 3 grantees would work out adjusting the operating and PM levels to come into balance. I expect that to happen in the future as we get our sub-apportionments. But at this point, looking so far out in the future, I do think the 3% escalator should work out for us.
I think the 3% escalator is a bit presumptive. I mean, I I hope for it. 3% would be amazing.
Mhm.
But you know, I'd like for our to have a 3%
I know.
increase and be over with what we are. It's a bit concerning to me. I understand, you know, when the time comes, we can work things out, but it just, I like it all to be realistic because, you know, when we come back and do this again in 2 years, we're still not going to quite be there. And if David, you know, hypothetically, if you have to bump out vehicle purchases, you know, we need to know and plan accordingly. So it's a tall order, but hopefully we're right.
I
So
mean, we
you're
did,
feeling 3% is a little too optimistic, Kelly?
I think so. When I look historically at what we've received now, more than likely this year, we should be getting a new transportation bill. So maybe that completely changes the game. I don't
Mhm.
know yet. You know, we're just timing on this one's not the best because we've got a continuing resolution for a transit funding bill. So what's forthcoming, we don't really know.
Well, and I was also thinking that this is Kathy. Often we do have uh, highway money that does end up getting moved over to transit. So, you know, obviously from the highway side, that's not a great thing to happen, but that's another possibility. Between now and 2025, it seems unlikely that that wouldn't happen, that there wouldn't be a little bit of that. So that was another potential thing that could change between now and 2025.
Well, we're not moving money to Indianapolis or Terre Haute, so it's a good thing that Northwest Indiana is not losing that highway dollars.
Right. Of course.
As a
Of course.
recipient of those highway dollars, my opinion might be biased.
Right.
Can I also ask why we have $8 in here on one project?
That $8 is to get that project into the tip
So
without really funding it.
we've historically put projects in the tip with a $0 federal share. Nixie's done it quite a bit in the past too.
I did not know we could do that.
I want my $8, Kelly.
No way, David.
No, this is a potential CMAQ project. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We want to make sure that we can go ahead and continue to plan on the implementation of that project, which is going to start this year. So, I mean, I would rather have a toe in that federal funding door with the $8 or just having something in there.
So, Kelly, are you suggesting that we should put the 20% local in? So that if
I'm
we
suggesting that your project stays in the tip with 100% local.
Oh, I see.
And then it's just, you know, we've always stated, so technically the first thing on the chopping block as far as 5307 goes would be your $8 project and then the vehicles. Expansion's the last thing to be funded.
Well, the $8 project is in another category that's not part of the 5307 calculation.
Actually, it will be.
Okay. I got
Either way, it's either CMAQ or 5307 funds. 5307 funds can be used for expansion.
Kathy, your CMAQ can afford $8. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
What do you mean, Kathy? It's not my CMAQ.
Charles, I'm not positive on that because of the splits when it comes to 5307 expansion and the use of CMAQ funds for congestion mitigation and air quality, which is what this project was put together for. Can that be adjusted? We're talking $8 here.
I can give you $8 from CMAQ. I've been giving as a staff member of NERC, I have been giving the ability to give up to that $8 CMAQ funding to transit. Now, before I might find a spear in my chest by the end of the day if I give more than that. If I promise more than that, and all kidding aside,
Right. Mhm.
That $8, I can program it as CMAQ. I can mix CMAQ and 5307 funds. That's not an issue. So, but these are federal highway dollars. And Kathy and I did do some research, and 5307 can be used for expansion. So,
There's just usually not
we do
enough.
need to
Like
worry
we don't
about-
have enough,
We do need to worry about the roads.
And the bottom line is, it's just a placeholder. I really don't
Well, I
have,
know with those expansion projects, if they go straight into 5307, GPTC does lose out on some benefits afforded by CMAQ funding.
Exactly.
Well, it seems likely, given that we are already over programming the 5307, that there's not going to be a big pot of 5307 for that project. So, this gives us, I guess this, our idea is this gives flexibility in the future if we do end up with money to move over. But that money would also, I think if we had CMAQ money that had to move over, we'd have to put that into the shortfalls we put in 5307 first before we'd put an expansion.
Well, I mean, it's not a one for one. There's
Yeah.
got to be their quality analysis, and the one with the biggest bang for the buck in terms of their quality analysis is where that would go, and we would probably have to put in a specific application for that.
Yeah,
Now,
we would.
both the electric buses and new service would reduce emissions. However, the electric buses are for the new service, so it's a chicken egg thing. In this case, the new service would take priority.
Right.
are we in violation of policy or process, in your opinion, Kelly?
I don't know how David's application for these projects came in, so I'm not sure I can really speak
Okay, I appreciate it.
It was originally a CMAQ project.
And these buses here are for that CMAQ project too?
No, I think
yeah, they were linked. They were linked. We'd be prioritizing Metro Express projects and routes with the electric buses because they carry more people, and thus there'd be a larger emissions benefit. So we did connect them when we did the application, but the electric buses were submitted under 5307 or 5339, and the new service was submitted under CMAQ.
So
That's
those
how it was
buses are
scored.
actually replacement buses of existing buses. You're not
Yeah.
expanding your fleet.
No, not expansion. These are replacements.
I mean, I think they're gradually switching their fleet over to electric, assuming the first VW assisted project is successful for them,
Exactly.
which the buses are more expensive, but there's a significant air quality benefit. So,
And then a significant less fuel benefit.
Any more comments or questions pertaining to?
This is Beth Schrader. I did have a comment. I'm not sure if it affects anyone else. So I understand the approach looking at the 21 funding and the requested funding and then programming the lesser of the two. In Valparaiso's case for our DASH funding, we're between now and 25, we will have a transition from one funding type to another, which affects the federal funding that we request. So the 21 funding uses partial capital cost contracting, which is a lower federal share, and partial CMAQ, which of course is 80%. So by the time we hit 25, our expectation is that all of that 80-20 funding for the lines that will have been in service for 3 years will have been depleted. So in this case, it's kind of problematic to take the lesser of the two because it doesn't allow us to maintain funding or service levels.
Oh, because the ratio is changing. So you need
Yeah.
the 2025 is more federal.
So what was programmed is
Mhm.
the request was
Mhm.
programmed as requested in the NOFA for 26, but 25 was kind of bumped down to the 21 levels. But I mean, there's some unknown because we don't know when all of our dash buses are going to get back into service, and we don't know how long it'll take us to get through that 80-20. But right now, just without a crystal ball, I think it's still a possibility that we'll have depleted all the 80-20 and need to be using capital cost of contracting for all of them.
So it'll have to be 50-50, but the total project cost.
Beth, go ahead, Beth.
So
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, usually when it comes to what's being discussed now, NICD and GPTC kind of pull back because that's a sub-grantee issue. I was wondering whether or not that could be discussed and maybe a proposal put together between Valpo, sub-grantee oversight, and the other sub-grantees. And if we do need to make a change, can we make that change subsequent to the approvals that we're doing now as an amendment? With that work, Beth? I mean, I'm not saying don't solve this problem, because she's actually talking about a potential explosion in the need for federal dollars. But can that be something that Beth and Lisa and Charles and Kathy work out and then present to the roundtable in a couple of months?
I mean, I want to make sure that things keep moving. I wouldn't want anything to get set in stone that's going to be problematic for, maintaining existing transit service in the future. So I think other people know the process better than I do at this point. So I guess I'm looking to others with more experience and how to best address that.
Charles, is the public comment for this intended to start today
yes,
and run through April 8th
yes,
and then come back to TPC in April for recommendation to the, what do you have, a
To the-
full commission or
Yes, to the full commission.
executive?
yes. And we can make changes to the amendment. We can amend the adoption, starting in probably August or September.
Well, and I would say that Charles and I also anticipate that during the comment period, we will get feedback from FTA. We will get feedback from you guys. And so there could be some tweaking between now and April. Also, just so people are aware, the timeline is a little squirrely there at the end because we typically move TPC. We've been making it a practice to move the TPC earlier, so it's not the same week as the commission. So that means TPC would be April 6th. The comment period ends April 8th. Didn't we figure this out? If I aren't calendar up. So we may be asking for a recommendation from TPC pending no drastic comments 2 days later. But typically we don't get drastic comments the last 2 days.
Typically, we don't get comments the last 2
That's
days.
just a little, get your comments in sooner than later. That would be.
Well, just so the committee knows too, we didn't really finalize these numbers until yesterday afternoon. So I think I would be more comfortable. I mean, I'm
Just bump
happy to
this up.
submit public comment, but I'd also be more comfortable if we could, and Charles and Kathy can roll their eyes at me, maybe have another transit operator roundtable so that, we're all on the same page and understanding, what got changed for each person or agent.
I'd be open
think
to
we can-
having another transit operators to explain what we went through and
Mhm.
what we need to look at going forward.
Or, I mean, if we get comments back from FTA that 3% is unrealistic and we should not use it, then we are going to have to come back anyway.
Any
Do
other
you send
comments
that
or questions?
specifically to FTA or when it goes out for public comment?
Excuse me, Kelly?
Sorry.
Do you send this to FTA, someone specific at FTA for review when it goes out for public comment, or do you just hope they find it?
Actually, I need to send this to NDOT, and NDOT is going to be working with FTA.
Yeah.
So I have two things today. I have to send the list of all transit projects to NDOT and down in Indianapolis this afternoon so they can review this list. I also have to put it out for the whole entire TIP adoption for public comment. So those two things need to be done today. And right now our TIP without the transit projects is already down at NDOT, and NDOT is reviewing them. Whatever timeline they have on the highway side, at least, they're going to get back with us and make any suggestions. Maybe we forgot something. Hopefully that wasn't anything drastic. But if we did forget something, then we will have the opportunity to make that corrections, however drastic it may be.
This is provided we have a motion today, which we do need.
Yes.
Before we move, one last question on the 2026 program. You're showing about 8.5 million for NICD for their maintenance overhaul line item. And I thought we had agreed to that 2% escalator, which would mean that should be about 5.745 for 2026. Don't know if that was a typo or if we just didn't move the calculation in the 2026, but yeah, I saw that just a minute ago and wanted to ask about that.
Okay, first off, yesterday afternoon I found out, and we sent this out to everybody, that if everybody can see, that $8 million was NICD's total request. That wasn't the federal portion. I caught that yesterday afternoon and I sent it out. So their actual request for federal funds for 2026 was $6.6 million. And in 2026, it was $6.7 million. As we can see on these two lines. So I adjusted that down to $6,744,291. That is what their request was in 2026.
But that's still more than that 2% that we had agreed to, isn't it?
That's based on my 2% calculations. Throughout this process, NICD is actually taking less than 2%. And when the assumed budget is showing an increase of 3, when we're assuming a 3% increase. So what NERC did is they left the initial application amounts in 2026, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, for everybody.
Yes.
We're not changing 2026 at this time.
Right.
I have serious concerns about an $8.5 million line item for any agency for maintenance overhaul in 2026.
Well, fortunately, we have 4 years to argue about that.
Wouldn't NERC need to essentially balance 2026 next year. If FTA looks 4 years out each year,
It'll
not
be,
gonna
it'll be in
leave.
2 years. It'll be the next tip.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it'll be in 2023 or 2020.
Yeah.
In calendar year 2023, they'll look at it.
so in 2023, when we apply for 27 and 28, we're gonna go back and balance 26.
We didn't do that for this NOFA. I don't think we should make the assumption that we're going to remember to do that for the subsequent NOFA. That's why I have reservations about that. I know 2026 doesn't need to be balanced, but going beyond wishful thinking with a line item, I just think it's gonna bite us if we, depart from what we agreed to at Friday's meeting.
So what we agreed to at Friday's meeting was to take everybody's 2020, everybody's, whatever they asked, reduce their request for any increases by, what was the 0.7470?
Well, that was before the 2021.
Right, but we could apply that rule to 2026, Charles.
Yes.
Which still wouldn't be balanced, but it would be less. So that seems like what David's kind of asking for.
And we can even adjust this at, the next roundtable or when we bring it back in April. But I mean, that's not what we talked about on Friday.
We didn't talk about adjusting 26 on Friday. We did talk about increases overall and conformity with those increases.
Right, it wasn't enough when we had planned to reduce everybody's ask by future increases by a certain percentage. That was not enough. We had to go back farther to the 2021 numbers to even get as out of balance as we are now.
So NICTI's not even getting, the 2% increase with a 3% overall program increase.
That is a true
I don't
statement.
think anybody
is
gets a 2% increase.
No.
So
And
what
this
do
is
we wanna
not
do
something
today?
that's going to be resolved today.
No, it's
We-
not. And I
we-
think we need to, well, staff are hoping that we can at least proceed with this to public comment and a draft tip at this time.
I move that we accept the transit program of projects with some of the adjustments that we did talk about. I'm not sure if we actually made any adjustments as presented, to go to public comment beginning today.
I've got to ask, is that clear enough for staff?
I'm sorry.
I didn't write down any actual adjustments that we made just now on the fly.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any. So if that's the case, I move that we accept the program of projects as presented.
Thank you, David. Do I have a second? Not everybody at once.
It's George Topical. I'll second it.
Thank you, George. Any other discussion?
Are we not changing the GPTC program to CMAC,
Yeah.
the $8?
I'll change it to CMAC.
I appreciate you.
The first and second agree?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Thank you.
And this is assuming we're going to set up a transit operative roundtable prior to the next TPC to review the adjustments that Charles and Kathy made.
Yes.
Staff will, and then with the public comment and the comments from FTA, we'll have a better understanding where we're at.
keeping in mind those comments may not come until July.
Oh,
This is Charles.
I should have considered that, but we'll have to deal with what we deal with. I'm going to go ahead and call for roll. Is Flora on the phone?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, just one moment. Sheila Brilson. Kevin Brightsky.
Yes.
Thank you. George Toppel.
Yes.
Thank you. Mark Odell.
Yes.
Thank you. Frank Rivera.
Yes.
Thank you. Dean Button.
Dean Button votes yes.
Thank you. Michael Griffin. Matt Murphy.
Mike Jabo sitting in for Matt Murphy, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mike Jabo, thank you. David Wright.
Yes.
Thank you. Blossom Mabon.
Yes.
Thank you. Beth Schrader.
Yes.
Thank you. Beth West.
Yes.
Thank you. Robin Barzoni Tillman. Kelly Wenger.
Yes.
Thank you. Kay Nelson.
Yes.
Thank you. That's a total of 12 votes.
So moved. Do we have any topical committee reports?
Yes, I have a quick presentation, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, as it is said, and now for something completely different. Okay, you may have heard last week Governor Holcomb did announce the Next Level Trails program for the round 2 awardees. I'm proud to announce that 3 of those awards were given to Northwest Indiana communities. Here's a quick summary of that breakdown. There was about 30 million available. This is all administered by the Department of Natural Resources. They selected the projects statewide. There are 18 projects that were funded out of 93 apps submitted through the state. So quite quite a robust program. So the 29.6 that were awarded combined with 21 million or nearly 22 million for local match. This increases the amount of miles by 70 in 16 counties throughout Indiana. The longest awarded was 14.5 and the shortest is 0.88, which is in Portage, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And those are the 3 projects that were awarded: Crown Point's Pensy Greenway, the Marquette Greenway in Portage, and Valparaiso's Vale Park West project. So here is the breakdown of all the projects that were selected. There are 2 flavors, as I call them, of projects within the Next Level Trails. We have regional projects and we have the local projects. 2 were selected from our region for regional. That's Marquette and the Pensy Veterans Trail, and then local projects being the Vale Park West Link. So talking about these in a little bit more detail, here are the 3 projects as they are located on our priority corridors map. With the dot there in Lake County and this right in the middle in Crown Point, the north dot in Porter County, that is in Portage, and then Valparaiso receiving the other award. Going through this, here is the first project. It's a bit of a hybrid, but you'll see it makes quite a bit of sense when it's said and done. The city of Crown Point received nearly $3 million to complete the Pensy Greenway through the city to the Veterans Trail on the southeast side of the city. As you can see here, the red segments represent those parts of the trail that were funded. The green segments are those that are in, and you can see that there are funded segments already to the northwest and southeast. That is the Pensy Greenway coming from Cherville. That was awarded last year with phase 1 Next Level Trails. That should be constructed this year to Clark Road. Then we have that first segment of the Pensy Greenway. That'll finish the Pensy Greenway, a very proud achievement. That'll be a contiguous 15 miles from that point all the way to Calumet City. That connects the trail to the Erie Lackawanna. Everyone probably knows it and loves it there in green. That takes the trail to Summit, and then you wind through the community. We have then a segment of the old abandoned railroad that is still intact in the center of Crown Point, eventually leading to the Veterans Trail right there, terminating for the city at US 231 and picking up by Lake County Parks. And that continues the trail into Hebron. This is also part of the Great American Rail Trail System, which is a national endeavor by Rails to Trails Conservancy from Washington, D.C. to state of Washington in the Seattle vicinity. So quite the endeavor there, going right through our region. The second project here for highlighting is the Marquette Greenway. Those that are already familiar, the Marquette Greenway is our priority trail here in the region, stretching from the city of Chicago to New Buffalo, 55 miles. And this is a very critical link. If you take a look at this map here, you'll see the orange segment all the way to the left. That is the completed segment of the trail that actually wraps around the NERPC offices. Right there, the green segment is the Ameriplex. Ameriplex Drive is where the trail will continue along, and that has been funded quite a while ago, back in 2015. The city of Portage will be constructing that shortly. That red segment, that has been funded with this amount, and that is about just under a mile long. As you can see, it's quite a bit of money because it involves a bridge over Salt Creek, and there are some sensitive lands that are going to involve a boardwalk at that particular area. But what I'm happy to say is that pink line to the very right-hand side, hopefully it's coming up pink, that was constructed just last year by the town of Burns Harbor. So this connection is ready to go, and very excited to see that for the city of Portage and for our region. And finally, a local connection, the Vale Park West Link in Valparaiso. This is connecting an isolated segment of the Vale Park trail that you can see right in the middle of the screen here to a trail that exists to the east on Vale Park Road, and then another segment going to the west to Froburg Road. Trails exist on those corridors, and this was awarded to the city of Valparaiso just over $360,000. So okay, moving on. The final round, if you would like to know, and I'm sure you would, it will commence on November 1st, my birthday, and it will run for about a month till December 1st. And so there's plenty of time for communities to get on board. We please ask you to talk to us so you can help prepare the best application possible, so we can support your application as it goes downstate. Just so you know, we did receive just under $6 million of the funding. So almost 20% of the state funding came to Northwest Indiana. I do thank the communities that did work with NERPC to help prepare the applications. And obviously we are very ecstatic to see these new projects coming on board. And because it is state money, most likely these projects will be constructed within the next 2 years. So great news on that front, and I'll be more than happy to take any questions from the committee.
And all Mitch wants for his birthday is more trail projects. So
oh, I can't emphasize that enough. That'd be the best birthday gift. Thank you, Kevin.
Congratulations, Mitch.
Congratulations to the region. Thank you, Kay.
Outstanding work on the municipalities and the whole staff. Thank you, Mitch.
You got it.
Any other questions?
Yep. Back to you, sir.
Kathy, do you have anything from environmental management?
Yes, the Environmental Management Committee did not meet this month, but I did want to report back on the IU Environmental Resilience Institute regional application for the greenhouse gas inventory. Our project was selected by IU for 2 interns, but we had such a great response from the communities that we need like 6 interns. So right now there's a nonprofit helping us, so we have enough interns to do the project. We ended up getting all 3 counties on board. And in LaPorte County, we also have the city of LaPorte. And Michigan City did the greenhouse gas inventory with the last cohort. In Porter County, we have the county and Valparaiso and Chesterton. committed to the project. And then in Lake County, Maryville, Cedar Lake, Hobart, Highland, Munster, East Chicago. Is that everybody? Lake Station, did I say that? Cherville. You should be getting, if you're one of those communities, you should be getting a letter from us and a MOU and probably an invoice for share. But because we have so many communities on board, that's going to be fairly low. It's going to be the lowest cost per community. So we're kind of excited about that. The interns don't come on board until summer, but there's a boot camp in May that each of the communities point of contact should be scheduling, and we're going to include the dates for that in the letter we send out too. So kind of excited, and we're gonna so we'll have a whole region, kind of regional inventory, and we're going to use a baseline of 17 because that's when Gary and Michigan City did. So we'll have a regional baseline of all the same year to start from, and after that we can add in all the stuff we've done, CMAQ projects and trees we planted, and so just wanted to give everybody an update on that.
Any questions for Kathy? And when do you think the letters will be sent out to the community?
I hope next week.
Sooner than we thought. Excellent. Any other topical committees? Any partners on this call? Anybody from the Fed or from Illinois?
This is Robert Dirks with Federal Highway Administration.
Thank you. Do you have anything you wanted to announce, Mr. Brewer?
No, I don't have anything to announce at this point. Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other business, staff announcement, or upcoming meetings?
Kevin, it's Lori Cagle with South Shore Clean Cities. Hi, would it be okay if I were to give my report, please?
Please.
Thank you. I will try to be brief. We have a lot of good news. So as most of you likely saw, and thank you to NERC for sharing this, South Shore Clean Cities officially announced late last month that our coalition is going statewide. We were asked by the Department of Energy to submit an application to manage a statewide Clean Cities coalition in late 2020, and we're selected to do so. Most importantly, want to make sure folks know that we are maintaining our headquarters here in St. John, and we're going to be utilizing our partnership with Purdue Research Parks across the state for other meetings and locations. Really want to extend a big thank you to all of our members and partners in the NERC region in particular. The decision by the Department of Energy was based in large part on our success with the NERC and MACOG Green Fleet programs, which we intend to take to other MPOs across the state. So we really see this as a win for everybody and as applause for all of the good work that has taken place here at NERC. So we thank all of you for your support there. Want to let you know as well, we do have a few, there's a few funding opportunities coming up. Those that are of most interest to the folks who are attending this meeting, the FTA low-no emission grants for transit vehicles are accepting applications through April 12th. There's also a webinar taking place this Thursday at 1 p.m. on that grant opportunity. I will give you the website for all of the information that I'm providing when I'm done, but you can get that information on our website. Also, the last Indiana Volkswagen grant applications are going to be expected to come out very soon. These are the on-road and non-road. Keep an eye out for that. We'll share that with you. Letting you all know too, just as a point of update, we're finalizing our application for the statewide electric vehicle charging program. This is for the DC fast chargers. You may recall we were selected as one of 4 finalists to continue on with that application. And the level 2 chargers that we were able to help secure for the region are starting to roll out as well. We are hosting a clean diesel applications webinar with our fellow Lake Michigan area Clean Cities coalitions. That's Wednesday, March 17th at 11. We have another one with that same group, April 7th at 1 o'clock on non-road applications. You can think of these as the non-road applications one, kind of helping you to get ready for your lawn maintenance season. So your parks departments, any of the folks who handle those for your communities might be interested in that one. On April 30th, shifting gears slightly, Northwest Indiana Partners for Clean Air, whom we assist through NERC, is hosting its virtual awards ceremony. That's IDEM Commissioner Bruno Piggott will be giving his annual State of the Air in Northwest Indiana presentation for the keynote there. Important to note that they're accepting award nominations through March 26th and that municipal applications are accepted. Also, the scholarship program for high school seniors in Lake Porter and LaPorte counties is still open through March 31st. And last but not least, please save the date for August 10th. We are excited that we're hosting our annual conference and expo at the Blue Chip. We will be in person and are looking forward to actually seeing you all safely and being together once again. So the registration and sponsorship opportunities are going to be open for that very soon. Details on all of these are available on our website at southshorecleancities.org. You can also call me directly at 644-3698, and I will put all of the contact info in the chat. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Laura. Anytime. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else who has any announcements? Any staff announcements? We are having an executive board meeting at NERC on March 18th, next week on Thursday at 9 o'clock. And Environmental Management Policy Committee meeting will be April 1st at 9 a.m. And our next Technical Planning Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, April 6th at 10 a.m. Anything else good for the order?
I would also like to add that the Surface Transportation Committee is having a meeting April 6th. It got moved from May to April 6th, and I believe it starts at 8 a.m. It's TBD for it if it's virtual or in person. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Robert Dirks. I just wanted to announce that we're going to have a vacancy filled. When Joyce Newland retired, we were at a hiring freeze, and so now we don't have that hiring freeze, and so we're going to be filling that position. And so if anybody is interested, I just wanted to get the word out there to everybody. So
thank you. She's going to be hard to replace.
USA Jobs. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, I just want to get the word out. USA Jobs is where that can be found. So thank you.
Thank you. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Third.
Who did the second?
George Topical.
Who did the first?
Well, whatever.
George did the first. Who did the second?
I thought I was third, so.
She gets,
Okay.
Kay gets the second.
Okay, I just need a first second. Thank you all. Thank you for making the
Nice
meeting.
job, everyone.
Have a good week.
You too, Kevin.
Take care.